Welcome to Secret Agenda YouTube channel. The war between Ukraine and Russia has been affecting the whole world for 9 months in economic, military and diplomatic terms. The freedom struggle of the Ukrainian heroes set an example for the leaders of many countries. On February 24, when the war started, Ukraine, which was in impassabilities, achieved incredible successes against the Russians in the following processes, thanks to the support of the USA and Europe. In the first days of the war, the invading forces which bombarded the entire Ukraine thought that they would reach their targets in a very short time. And even the Russian leader stated that it would take 2 hours to completely occupy the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. The Russians were overconfident and indiscriminately attacked Ukrainian territory. Innocent Ukrainian citizens, on the other hand, tried to manage their lives in bunkers for a long time in order to survive these brutal attacks by the Russians. Days passed and the heavy conditions of the war turned into a more advantageous situation for the Ukrainian army, which gained strength. As we mentioned, Zelensky's heroes, backed by the support of Europe and the US government, started to take control of their own lands again and began to push the invading troops towards the border. The Russians, on the other hand, were quite stunned by this return of Ukraine. Russian leader Vladimir Putin recklessly sacrificed thousands of his soldiers to win this war at a time when the Ukrainians concentrated on counterattacks. When we look today, the number of Russian troop losses has reached 100,000, and besides this, thousands of tanks, armored vehicles and numerous military equipment of the Moscow army were wasted in this war. While the inventory of the Russian armed forces has decreased over time and even the point of exhaustion, the ammunition capacity of the Ukrainian army has been increased as well. In the last period, we have started to see the best examples of this, especially in the southern Ukraine region. The legendary army of Kyiv became the nightmare of the Russian invaders in the temporarily occupied Melitopol region of the Zaporizhia region. Thanks to the dawn operation organized by the Ukrainian armed forces, 5 Russian ammunition depots, a Russian headquarters, a base area in Skadovsk, and a fuel tank were blown up. The invading troops, who could not show much resistance against the incredible operation of the Ukrainian heroes, had to flee from this region as well. Zelensky's army with HIMARS long-range missiles is making the Russian forces experience hell in Melitopol, and the Ukrainian army's operations in this region are still continuing rapidly. Melitopol and its environs are currently the shelter of the Russian troops, but with the withdrawal of the Russian troops from Kherson, the way of the Ukrainian HIMARS artillery was opened, and HIMARS are conducting an operation against the Russian fortresses in Melitopol at every opportunity. In addition, Ukrainian special operations units and guerrilla forces in Melitopol do not let the Russians in. If you remember last month, the commanders of the Russian army in Melitopol found the solution to escape to Crimea in the face of the assassination and successful operations by Ukraine. The Ukrainian leader stated that these counterattacks will continue until the settlements in the southern regions are completely cleared of the soldiers of the occupying forces. The first fuse of these defeats, which infuriated Moscow, was ignited in Kherson. This epic, big Ukrainian operation, which started in Kherson in the southern region of Ukraine in the past days, was actually signaling these victories. The Ukrainian heroes who achieved a historical success in Kherson against the Russian troops took over again here. Ukrainian Chief of Staff Valery Zaluzhny stated that the Russians had no choice but to flee in Kherson regarding Russia's statement that the defense line in Kherson would be withdrawn to the left bank of the Dnipro River. Ukrainian Chief of Staff Valery Zaluzhny stated that in the direction of Kherson, the Russians destroyed the logistics routes, the control and support system of their troops. We continue our offensive, said Zaluzhny, who said that until now they could neither confirm nor deny the information about the alleged withdrawal of Russian occupation troops from Kherson. Zaluzhny shared the information that the Ukrainian troops have advanced 36.5 kilometers in the direction of Kherson since October 1, and the total area of the retaken area is 1,381 square kilometers. In addition, the Chief of the General Staff of Ukraine noted that control of 41 settlements in Kherson was restored. In addition, Zaluzny added that in just 24 hours they advanced 7 kilometers in the direction of Petropavlovka, Novoraisk in controlled 6 settlements and Pervomaisk 8 settlements, and added that a total of 264 square kilometers of land was liberated from the occupation forces. After Zaluzny's statements, news from Kherson continued to come. The operations carried out by the heroic Ukrainian army showed their effect, and the Russians announced that they had started to withdraw from this region. The Moscow administration, fully accepting the victory of Kiev, started to leave Kherson, one of the most critical points of the war. Ukrainian leader Zelensky stated that operations will continue uninterrupted until they reach Crimea. Crimea, which is very important for Zelensky, is considered as the key point of this war, and the Russian leader Vladimir Putin had deployed a large part of his own troops in this region just to avoid heavy losses in Crimea. This strategy of Vladimir Putin cost him dearly, but the Russian leader still did not give up on this decision, because the heroes of Ukraine succeeded in making great gains on other fronts by increasing their counterattacks in the interval where Putin deployed most of the Russian soldiers in and around the Crimea. While the waters heat up in Kherson and Crimea, the most important regions of the war, the Ukrainian army continues to put the Russians under pressure without making any concessions for a moment. So why is the Kherson region, where the heroes of Kiev intensified their attacks, so important for this war? Kherson is a city at the foot of the Dnipro River, close to the Black Sea coast. Before the war, the population of the city was about 380,000. The city of Kherson is also very close to Crimea, which Russia annexed in 2014. About the city, Marina Myron, a defense studies specialist at King's College London, said that Kherson is the gateway to Crimea. Capturing this city could play an important role in helping Ukraine recapture Crimea as intended. Forbes Mackenzie, a former intelligence officer in the British Army, explains the importance of Kherson's position as follows. Forbes Mackenzie said that occupying the Dnipro River will open up Ukraine directly to the center, which will be a huge advantage for Kiev. According to Myron, a defense studies researcher, capturing Kherson will send a message that the war is turning in Ukraine's favor. That's why Kherson, one of the key centers of the war, is so important, and both Ukraine and Russia want to dominate this strategic region. But the latest situation shows that the heroic army of Kiev is much more dominant in this region. Concerned about the victories achieved by the Ukrainians in Kherson, the Moscow administration has now started to work on how to prevent these negativities. One of the most feared issues in the Russian administration is the possibility of losing Crimea. Yes, the situation that the Russians fear most is that the Ukrainian army, after completely capturing Kherson, continues its attacks and reaches Crimea. The arrival of the Kiev army in Crimea means that the course of the war completely turns the side of the Ukrainians. In addition, the Russian administration does not want to suffer losses on the other Ukrainian fronts while defending Crimea and its surroundings. This is why Vladimir Putin deployed the majority of the Russian citizens he mobilized to Crimea and its surroundings. But since almost all of these mobilized Russian citizens are completely inadequate in military training, Putin's decision is risky. When we look at it from another point of view, the Russian leader does not seem to have much of an alternative at the moment. The reason for this is considered to be the fact that the Russians have lost a record number of soldiers since the beginning of the war and spent their ammunition on unnecessary attacks. The role of Ukrainian heroes in this issue should not be forgotten. Zelensky's heroic army continued to defend their country with their belief in victory by never giving up the fight, even in the face of impossibilities. Today, the brave Ukrainian soldiers who have taken a dominant position against the Russian troops are among the chief architects of this situation. As time progressed, the conditions of the war began to become more and more difficult. The approaching winter season brings with it problems. We will see together what will happen in this war in the following processes. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications in order to be informed about the new videos. Thank you for watching us.